go around universities and have challenging conversations, because that's what is so important to our country, is to find our disagreements respectfully, because when people stop talking, that's when violence happens.
I've never seen someone do this.
Well, it's a growing trend because people like me are facing violence, assaults. The left. Yes, the campus Antifa. I've been stormed out of restaurants. I've been assaulted publicly, multiple death threats.
Okay, so what's your goal in this?
There's more people that agree with me than some people would actually believe, and they come out of the woodwork when I do stuff like this. We record all of it so that we put on the internet so people can see these ideas collide. When people stop talking, that's when you get violence. That's when civil war happens, because you start to think the other side is so evil and they lose their humanity.
Good morning, Patriots. It's Thursday, September 11th. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. This is usually the day when we say never forget. But today, how could we forget? Because this time it's not a foreign enemy flying planes into our buildings. It's not jihadis screaming into the cockpit. It's not terrorists from across the ocean who want to break America. This time, it was a man on a college campus, an American, who pulled the trigger. And they aimed that bullet not just at Charlie Kirk. They aimed it at you, at me, at all of us who dare to speak freely, at everyone who refuses to sit down, shut up, and take our cultural beatings like good little serfs. And yet here we are again on September the 11th, blood on the ground, a nation shaking, and a question echoing louder than ever. What kind of a country are we going to be from here on out? Now, I'll tell you what kind of show we're going to do today. This is not going to be a day for games. There's not going to be any bonus content, no breakfast theater, just the truth, hard and cold. We will speak plainly. We will speak soberly. We will speak freely. And yes, we will be righteously angry. But we will not be like them. We will not be the kind of people who cheer when our political opponents are shot. We will not be the kind of people who celebrate death in the name of progress. We believe in law and in justice. We believe in the kind of country where ideas are answered with arguments, not with bullets. That's what Charlie Kirk believed. But that doesn't mean that we're naive. We're not naive at all anymore. Not after what happened to Charlie, not after what's happened to me this week. I've been targeted, harassed, called vile things. I received this message from a she, him, he, her, they, their, whatever it was last night. Take a listen.
These people are fucking killing people. They are starting fucking death camps and they are fucking putting them in there. I hope they fucking put you in there.
This is just one example of the death threats, the kind of things that I've been receiving over the last week. I've been receiving phone calls. This is from one Jade Rodriguez in Ellensburg, Washington. Fits the profile of the type of person that has been engaging in shootings. Would not be surprised if this is the type of person. Sorry about the thing there on there. Wants me to sign in, but I can't. They blocked me after they sent me that hateful message. So I can't show you their profile. Needless to say, the type of person that you would expect saying things like this. Charlie is gone, but I am still here. And I'm not going anywhere. Let me lay out the show for you guys today. At 7:30 a.m., Camellia Petersen joins us. She's one of the kindest voices that I know. And today she's going to help us to process the human side of this tragedy, what it means for the movement, for students, for moms and dads who are scared for their kids' futures. There is heartbreak here, and Camellia is not going to shy away from it. We'll have her at 7:30 this morning, so look forward to that. She'll cheer you up a little, I'm sure. At 8 o'clock this morning, actually 8:08, Congressman Bob Onder will call in from the Capitol in Washington, D.C. You're going to hear the inside story. The chaos on the House floor yesterday, Democrats shouting, "What about the kids in Colorado?" When Republicans were simply trying to say a prayer for Charlie Kirk. Thank you, Frickety, for that, for the truth. You know, we will continue to speak it here no matter who it offends. At 8:30 a.m., Colonel Kurt Schlichter storms in today. And let me tell you, he's bringing the fire. You want to know what righteous retribution looks like? within the Constitution. If you want to know what it means to fight hard without becoming the thing you hate, you're going to want to be here for that one. At 8:30 a.m. Central Time, we're going to have Colonel Kurt Schlichter. So let me leave you guys with this before we roll into the A1 segment here. Today when the towers fell, this country changed. We built a security state. We gave up freedoms. We fought wars. Some of it was right and some of it was wrong. But one thing was certain. On 9/11/2001, we were never the same again. Today needs to be that kind of a day, not one of surrender, not one of despair, not one of giving up our rights, not one of giving up our freedoms, but an awakening. Because Charlie Kirk is dead. They killed him for speaking. But if you think that bullet stops him, then you haven't been paying attention. I'm not the only one who feels this way. Last night on Fox News, Greg Gutfeld, gave a brief monologue, and he had this to say. Well, I thought I had it. Please forgive me, guys. I didn't get any sleep last night. I was just tossed and turned all night, so I'm just trying to put this all together for you the best I can. Please be patient with me if you don't mind. I thought I had it pulled up. And yes, here it is. Thank you.
I know that it's somewhat object of mockery to say thoughts and prayers, but thoughts and prayers for his family. And they need it from all of us. And Jesse's right. If they could do this, they are capable of anything. I think that was the message. I believe that was the message. It's really hard to radicalize Republicans.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we're not the radical type.
No, they're conservatives.
But if you thought that you were going to shut a movement down, you're going to get a rude awakening. You woke us the fuck up.
There we go. So wake up, America. Thank you, Greg Gutfeld. The war for civilization is not coming. It's here. It's time to get going. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to be honest with ourselves this morning. We've all been to these candlelight vigils. We've all heard thoughts and prayers till the phrase practically means nothing anymore, like Greg Gutfeld was expressing there. But what happened yesterday, it wasn't just another act of political violence. It wasn't just a lone shooter. This isn't a fluke. This was a declaration. Charlie Kirk was assassinated on American soil on a public campus for speaking, for showing up, for being unafraid. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. This was political. And I will say this plainly. They are coming for all of us. You, the listener to this show, me, and anybody who agrees that you should have free speech in a country, the right to bear arms, that tragedies don't mean that you should take away your rights. They're coming for you. Charlie was not the canary in the coal mine. When we saw Luigi Mangione being celebrated for assassinating the United Healthcare CEO, that was the canary in the coal mine, that this was going to continue and that this was going to pick up and that this was only the beginning and it was absolutely going to get worse. Take a listen to this.
Charlie Kirk got shot and killed. How do you feel?
Happy. Goodbye.
Wow. Did you see that Charlie Kirk just got shot and killed?
That's good.
Wow. That's good.
Who are their parents?
That's good that people are getting shot just off a political view. Good that people are dying in America.
Did you see that Charlie Kirk got shot and killed today?
Yes, I did.
How do you feel about that?
I don't really have any feelings about it. Who are you?
Charlie Kirk got shot and killed today. We're just getting people's opinions. How do you feel about that?
Girl, someone had to do it. And that's how I feel at this point in time. But
Yeah, I appreciate your honesty. I truly do. So you said someone had to do it.
yes.
Try not to get all pulled up into that, but he was a misogynist. He was a disgusting person with disgusting beliefs.
So if you had a magical wand, a magical button that you could press and keep him from being assassinated, would you press that?
No. I think things happen for a purpose. And if that's how his life was ended, then that's how it was ended. So
There we go. All right. So, young skulls full of mush, like Rush Limbaugh used to say, says Y2 Joe. let's break this down. So Charlie was under a white tent labeled the American Comeback at Utah Valley University, smiling. He was handing out hats. It looked like he was having the greatest day of his life. And the kids were having an absolute blast too. Everybody there, for the most part, looked pretty excited to see him. And talking to students, giving them hope. There was one kid in the audience who looked like he was special needs, who got a hat from Charlie. He was really excited, had all his books. At 12:20 p.m. local time, a shot rang out from 200 yards away. The shooter was elevated, had line of sight, and Charlie hit the ground in front of a crowd of young people who will never forget the sound of that bullet. Charlie was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. He didn't make it. Let me repeat. He was shot in the middle of his First Amendment. Let's pause here because the press wants to talk about nuance. They want you to know a person of interest was released. The motive isn't clear. They'll trot out right-wing extremists. NBC will say things like this.
In which a shooting like this happens.
Yeah, and again, to emphasize what you just emphasized, we don't know any of the full details of this. That we don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration, or so we have no idea about.
A supporter shooting their gun off in celebration. I mean, it's funny. It's so ridiculous. I laugh at evil. That was MSNBC yesterday. Right? But it's the problem is the right. See, the incitement to violence that the left accuses them of is that if people like Charlie Kirk show up to campus, then we will be violent. When I say we, I mean them. That they are the ones who should be assumed to be violent. Let me rephrase this in case I'm not being clear. This morning, I published a tweet from a young woman. She said that she wanted to start a Turning Point USA outlet on her campus. She was refused by the left-wing student body because they were worried that it would incite violence on campus from left-wing student groups. We can't allow you to speak because, and this has happened to Ben Shapiro too, and if I were him, I would definitely be looking at extra security. But now today they want to pretend like they were peaceful and virtuous. Morgan Freeman posted this yesterday, or had posted this recently, saying, I dream of an America with no Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Donald Trump Jr. I dream of an America with no Charlie Kirk. But now they're all pretending they're peaceful and virtuous. Morgan Freeman says, America, we must come together in condemning the cruel and violent assassination of Charlie Kirk and become one nation that relies on the love and support of all of its citizens. No, I'm sorry. No, you don't get to say things like this because we know that this is the true heart of the left here.
Do you support his death?
I do.
You support his death?
Fuck Charlie Kirk.
You support Charlie Kirk being killed?
Yes, I do.
On the day he died, you're here at a vigil for Charlie Kirk and you support his death.
Do you support a Nazi?
No, I don't support a Nazi. Charlie Kirk wasn't a Nazi. You support his shooter?
Yep, sure do. For you.
You support Charlie Kirk's shooter?
Sure do. He did us all a favor.
Would you shoot somebody like Charlie Kirk?
I would have killed him myself.
You would have killed him yourself? Okay. Do you have a job here in Seattle?
Nope. I take that for a look.
No, I wonder why you don't have a job there. Charlie Kirk murdered by people like this. I've been fighting long enough in this to understand how this game works, right? Charlie Kirk was targeted not because he was so extreme. He was, to some extent, a very run-of-the-mill Republican with his views. He was always being targeted by the far right for not being right-wing enough. Charlie Kirk was targeted because he was successful, because many young people were being brought out of the Marxist labor camps of intelligentsia and brought in to the conservative movement through Charlie Kirk's behaviors. He was successful at converting young people to conservatism. He was one of the few voices actually turning the tide with young people, and that made him a threat to the current establishment. And now the left, they're trying to control the narrative faster than they can confirm any facts, right? This CNN is blaming the reaction, of course, not the shooter. Here's the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker. Guess who he blames?
My sympathy to Charlie Kirk's family and to Charlie Kirk, who obviously has, become a target for somebody. I don't know whether it's political violence because I don't know who did it. I know they seem to have somebody in custody. But I will say that political violence, unfortunately, has been ratcheting up in this country. We saw the shootings, the killings in Minnesota. We've seen other political violence occur in other states. And I would just say it's got to stop. And I think there are people who are fomenting it in this country. I think the president's rhetoric often foments it. We've seen the January 6th rioters who clearly, have tripped a new era.
There you go. President Trump. Just say what you really mean, Governor. Mask slip moment. Matthew Dowd had to be disavowed by MSNBC yesterday after running his mouth in a way that even MSNBC found disgusting. All right, they let him go yesterday. When they made the announcement that they were sorry, they posted it on a PR account that had like 23,000 followers, not the main MSNBC account with millions of followers, but the PR outlet on the small. But the mask has slipped, hasn't it? Right? Because deep down, we know that they don't mourn this. We know that when they've been calling for saying things like, "Oh, we're so sorry that this happened. We feel in this moment nobody should have to do this." That's not how they really feel. Here's how they really feel.
I wouldn't call my video celebrating anything, but this is literally the platform that he stood on. That he was okay with some people potentially dying or being injured by gun violence, so others could have their Second Amendment rights. And it sounds like this is exactly what he wanted. Thank you so much, Charlie, for your service. And unfortunately, that means your wife is going to be raising her kids potentially alone. But at least everyone still gets access to all their guns.
Here we go. Yeah. Yeah, that's how the left actually feels. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, do us a favor. Please do click that like button and support independent free speech journalism like this that is dangerous to the political left and the political establishment in this country. I'm glad to have you here. If today is your first time watching the Wake Up America show, I would love to have you be a regular guest of the show. It's Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. That's the Wake Up America show schedule. We'd love to have you be a regular guest, and the easiest way to do that is to click the follow button here on the show, and if you do so over on Rumble, then you will get notification when we go live, which is, again, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time.
But he put out a 4-minute video, and I'm not going to play the video. I don't want to play the video. But there was a line at the end that I think I just wanted to raise and read. At the end of this 4-minute video, he says, "For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today, and it must stop right now." And obviously, there's a lot of rhetoric that is problematic. A lot of it is coming from one particular side and from one particular building. But what can be done? I fear when this is an escalation already in less than 24 hours of this shooting.
Yes.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, Trump is escalating it by coming out and making a statement. Trump is escalating it. Again, just like J.B. Pritzker. Who's the real problem? Donald Trump is the problem. That's what they're saying. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. I have a little bit of the president's speech.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah. Charlie inspired millions, and tonight all who knew him and loved him are united in shock and horror. Charlie was a patriot who devoted his life to the cause of open debate and the country that he loved so much, the United States of America. He fought for liberty, democracy, justice, and the American people. He's a martyr for truth and freedom, and there's never been anyone who was so respected by youth. Charlie was also a man of deep, deep faith. And we take comfort in the knowledge that he is now at peace with God in heaven. Our prayers are with his wife, Erica, the two young, beloved children, and his entire family, who he loved more than anything in the world. We ask God to watch over them in this terrible hour of heartache and pain. This is a dark moment for America. Charlie Kirk traveled the nation, joyfully engaging with everyone interested in good faith debate. His mission was to bring young people into the political process, which he did better than anybody ever, to share his love of country and to spread the simple words of common sense. On campuses nationwide, he championed his ideas with courage, logic, humor, and grace. It's a long past time for all Americans and the media to confront the fact that violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year.
We will be having Camellia Petersen here in a little bit less than 5 minutes. She's going to join us live here on the Wake Up America show. Then we'll have Congressman and Dr. Bob Onder. It's going to be a difficult show today. Camellia, hopefully will give us a small amount of comfort. But it's important that we know who the left is. Again, this is a message that I received to my Facebook page just last evening from a they-them.
These people are fucking killing people. They are starting fucking death camps and they are fucking putting them in there. I hope they fucking put you in there.
This is the kind of person that, you know, is going to show up on my door one day with a rifle and, you know, this is what people like myself, people like Charlie Kirk have to put up with if we want to have our free speech, if we want to have our opinions. And note that Charlie Kirk, he's a conservative, right? We disagree probably on several things. Right? And I'm a libertarian. We have different political views on things, right? Never once did I want to assassinate Charlie Kirk. I didn't hate Charlie Kirk, right? We have differing opinions on things. And I only met Charlie Kirk once. He was very generous to me. He gave me job opportunities. He booked me to speak on campuses, at Turning Point campuses around the country, put me on their website as a featured speaker. I wouldn't say that I was friends with Charlie Kirk, but when I met him, he did call me friend. And so I say to you, rest in peace, friend. We'll be right back. Camellia Petersen joins us to talk about this live. Don't go away. We'll be right back. It's the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
And what is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America show. Thank you for sticking around this morning. We're joined by someone I not only work with, but I deeply respect, a voice of conscience and clarity in a time when both are in short supply. Camellia Petersen. She's a mother, she's a patriot, and somebody who's walked the walk when it comes to standing up in hostile territory, whether it's inside the Missouri legislature yesterday or in the air or in her community. She's the kind of person who still believes in humanity without being naive. And that matters more than ever. So joining us now, Camellia Petersen, live on the Wake Up America show. Thanks for being here, CJ. We appreciate it.
Good morning.
Country's on edge, Camellia. I mean, you've kind of been in the thick of this now with grassroots activism for years. What was your immediate reaction when you heard about Charlie's assassination?
I mean, shock. Like, I there's like a billion different thoughts like run through your mind, right? Because there's been so many things over the past year that have happened that are, related to political violence, and the temperature doesn't seem to be going down in the country. It felt like it might be there for a little bit, but every time you think it might be settling down, it seems like it starts to escalate again. And so I think there was just a lot of disbelief because, we'll say that Charlie Kirk was someone that I disagreed with frequently, right? But the idea of civil debate and dialogue on the public stage is just so sacred to the foundation of America that this idea that we are increasingly moving away from this and in many ways on all sides because you villainize anyone that you disagree with. And so I think we've gotten to this atmosphere of like, if you don't agree with me on every single thing, then you are my enemy. And you've even seen this, because even when it comes to President Trump, there have been, we've came out in support of him, but there are lots of things that he's done that we don't agree with either. But that doesn't mean we still don't support and have that debate and that dialogue, and we still move forward as a country. And this is just kind of, my number one concern here, and the first person I really saw say this, ironically, was James Lindsay. And he talked about, that there's really, what really matters here is how we respond to this. And he said that we have a choice. We have catharsis or we have civilization. And a lot of what you saw in the immediate reaction to what happened to Charlie was catharsis. There was a lot of talk about, I'm radicalized now. And now, there were a lot of underlying threats that were implied with this. And James Lindsay is right. We have a choice right now. How do we respond to this? Does that mean that you lay down in the face of evil and you do nothing? No, but it doesn't mean that you declare war on anybody that doesn't agree with you politically. Also, no, because neither one of those are good options.
A lot of people don't know this, but it is actually legal to carry firearms as citizens in the Missouri State Capitol. I have video that you posted yesterday. I'm pulling it up right now at the Missouri Capitol. This is yesterday in Missouri's Capitol. Legislators are telling their staff to leave early for their safety. Highway Patrol escorting legislative members to the restroom because staffers had been cornered and harassed in bathrooms. What does that say about where our political culture is headed?
Exactly. I mean, I guess the irony of all of this happening on the same day yesterday, there was no, outright violence that happened in the Missouri Capitol yet, but tempers were running so high that it really wouldn't have taken much. And The what happened with Charlie Kirk kind of hit the news right on the end of all of the protesters being in the Missouri state capitol. And and the thought went through my mind that I'm glad for that timing, because, I couldn't help but think of like, what would the response have been? What would have happened if that news had hit, in the middle when all of this was going on in the Capitol, and, when they were walking the halls and screaming and using bullhorns and pounding on the walls and the windows. Like, it doesn't take much to light a match to that fuel. And so I am glad for the timing in that sense. But, I also think that, there has to be a balance. Obviously, the right to protest and for the people to make their voices heard in America is crucial. We should not be taking that away from anybody. I mean, we don't silence voices over political speech like we saw done yesterday. But there is a place for respect for other people, because, you can march through the Capitol saying, this is our house, but guess what? This is also my house, right? We both have a stake in, our government and in our representatives. And just because, this is something that you don't like, it doesn't mean that you come and you use intimidation and fear to try to force your will on your elected representatives, who are not only just elected they don't have an obligation to just represent you. They have an obligation to represent the entire state and the other people in their districts. And they have, an obligation to uphold what is best for the state and what is held in the Constitution. So this idea that we can use these tactics of intimidation and threats and fear to get your way, we're not in a good place.
The video that is playing right now in between Camellia and I right there, the Democrats in the Missouri State Capitol yesterday protesting, cornering staffers. Legislators were telling their staff to leave early for their safety after this occurred. Camellia, I've got some audio here to play for you. This is from a person by the name of Jade Rodriguez. They sent me this. I've been getting hundreds, maybe over 1,000 messages like these in the past few days, ever since I appeared on Occupy Democrats. This is a man wearing women's clothing who sent me this message at 4:17 in the morning. Take a listen to this.
These people are fucking killing people. They are starting fucking death camps, and they are fucking putting them in there.
Okay.
I hope they fucking put you in there.
I hate to do this because there's so many bad words in there, but I forgot to turn on Camelia's audio, so we'll play it one more time, and now she should hear it.
These people are fucking killing people. They are starting fucking death camps, and they are fucking putting them in there. I hope they fucking put you in there.
Well, how should I respond to things like this, Camellia? I mean, it's been 3 days now, and it hasn't let up. On our way home from the Renaissance Festival, my phone started blowing up from private numbers of people talking like this.
I don't, this is the downside to the internet and the ability to have anonymity, right? And I don't know what. There are only so many things we can control. I've been thinking about this a lot, because I think that part of the way that people respond to things is born out of a helplessness in not being able to control what goes on around you. And I think that drives home more than ever the idea that we need to be concerned with the things that we can control. And you can't control all of these crazy people who come after you, but what you can control is you can control how prepared you are, the precautions that you take, how you respond. And I do think that, sunshine is the best disinfectant, right? We need to shine a light on these kind of people. I mean, there needs to be public shaming of this kind of behavior. It needs to be, condemned. I know we talk a lot about, before when things have happened, whether or not public figures or people who have large platforms are obligated to publicly condemn actions of people. And like, there's a part of me that says like, no, you're not obligated to do that. But on the other hand, it's really important that we do that, because otherwise, you chalk these behaviors up to the other side, quote unquote. And how do we know if this is not just infected? Like if your whole, ideology, the people that you align with, how do we know that your side is not infected with this sickness if you don't come out and you don't publicly condemn it? And because that's also a way of letting those people know that, look, we're not going to back you up. We're not going to support you in this kind of behavior. So, I think when it comes to, the assassination of Charlie Kirk yesterday, like, I think it's really important that, Democrats across the board come out and publicly condemn this. And it was like, we did see a lot of Democrats come out.
What does it matter? Why does it matter if they do that? How can we take them seriously about it when they've been saying, how can you say on one hand, he's a Nazi, he has to be targeted, he has to be taken out, all of the things that they say, and then act surprised when somebody follows your instructions? I mean, here's the thing. If you were me, Camellia, and you were getting, and I'm sure that, you get a lot of hate, but the last few days for me have been pretty rough. But I will say this: it's tempting for the lesson to be over the last week. 1, don't turn your back to a black man on a train, and 2, if you see a transgender person in public, get ready to draw on them because they're fucking nuts. Is that if you don't want to stereotype, but then when you get messages like those at 4 a.m. from people who have hormonal imbalances, and you watch videos of pretty little white girls having their throats stabbed out, you can't help but wonder if the lesson isn't to be racist and bigoted in order to protect your own safety. I mean, you have to talking about radicalization. Could you understand why somebody might feel that way?
100%. Like, and I think that, I think that is very understandable to respond that way, because, it like we're getting inundated with those kind of things. And I think that that's the challenge for us. And here's the thing, like, I very much don't like to paint with a broad brush. I think we all have a tendency to do that, right? We are all tribal, and that's in our human nature to be that way. To fight against the people who disagree with you. And I do think that there's a place for, that fight to be had. I mean, and there is a right way to have that fight. I think that we can't go to one extreme or the other and say that we're going to just flame every other person who doesn't agree with us, whether they've been complicit in this or not. And you have to make judgment calls on how complicit they are. But we also can't say, we're going to lay down and sing Kumbaya either, right? I mean, there's a balance in the middle that, one of the things I was thinking about with all of this, in terms of it really does. It's not to say that there's never been violent behavior by anybody on the right. And there's certainly plenty of violent rhetoric. Right. I mean, Charlie Kirk was not only hated by many people on the left, but he was also hated by groypers. And,
he was hated by the extreme elements of the right. This is a video. This is a video of Charlie Kirk expressing a sentiment that I've said many times that the left is using against him. Take a listen to this.
So we need to be very clear that you're not going to get gun deaths to zero. It will not happen. Right. You can significantly reduce them through having more fathers in the home, by having more armed guards in front of schools. We should have an honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence, but we should not have a utopian one. You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year, so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is.
So he's talking there about the price of liberty, and in the end, he paid it.
Right. Yes. I mean, 100%. Like, everybody has always accused you libertarians of wanting a utopia, but the truth is that everybody of every ideological stripe, in some way wants their own utopia, and that includes the Democrats. And their utopia is that you can eliminate all of the gun violence, so to speak, by taking away all of the guns. And, I don't know how much it takes to convince people, as we've seen over and over and over again by other countries who have taken away the guns And if there's not guns, there's knives. There's going to be something else. But I do think fundamentally as a society that we do have to face the reality that there are very real differences in terms of ideological worldview and, how that affects behavior. And when you talk about people's attitudes, and especially this tends to be more on the left, you see it sometimes on the right too, but we've come to live in such a nanny state where individual responsibility and the willingness to pay that price has declined more and more and more with every decade over the last, 50 years or more. And it kind of goes to this idea too, like when we really started, when we really started doing a lot with psychology and we talk about Freud versus Adler, all this kind of stuff. And when you look at the differences between worldviews, it really comes down to your locus of control, whether or not, and there's so many people on the left, their entire ideology is based around an external locus of control. They are not responsible for their own success and failures. If there is something that they feel like is not going well for them, it's somebody else's responsibility to take care of that and to make that happen and to solve the problems in their lives. And I think that, we policy-wise from a government perspective, we've increasingly put more and more of those policies, those nanny state policies in place so that people we don't have to, take care of ourselves. I think it's this idea that we can get through life with no suffering, right? That we can completely alleviate all of the bad things because we have the power to do so. Because as we advance technologically, there's this idea. You even hear Elon Musk and various people talk about this, that we will reach a point scientifically where nobody's going to ever have to go hungry. We will solve everybody's, problems in life, with medical advances and all of these things.
It's true.
Yeah, never going to happen.
It's true. Yeah. On that subject of, the price of liberty, the left attacking Charlie, saying that, gun deaths, unfortunately, are worth it to keep the Second Amendment. They're attacking him over this. And yesterday there was a scuffle on the floor of the House of Representatives. Bob Onder is going to join us here in a little bit to talk about that, because apparently some Republicans wanted to have a moment of prayer. The Democrats were yelling at them, no, they couldn't do it. And then the Democrats were saying, pass some gun control laws. But this narrative, it's sort of a paradox where the left is saying, do gun control or we'll keep trying to kill you. I don't feel like it's never a good idea to lay down your guns. If somebody says, if you don't lay down your guns, we're going to kill you. So it's not quite the own that they think it is when they attack us in that way. I think Dana Lash had posted about that. But here's the thing. He was killed while exercising his free speech. He was killed while in the middle of the act itself of peaceful nonviolence. Freedom of speech is meant in order to protect us from violence. And he was murdered while enacting this. These videos of his daughter running across the stage to him are just ripping me up, Camellia. And I think you understand why. And you're the mother of daughters too. But I just have really been ripped up about this. I didn't sleep a wink last night. I don't know about you, but there's just a righteous burning rage. And thank God we're going to have Kurt Schlichter on here today so he can go off, so I can try to keep things together. But yeah. I'm having trouble dealing with this. I don't know about you.
Yeah, to me, it is just, it's such a sad statement on where we are as a society. And, I was driving back home from the Capitol yesterday evening, and my younger daughter, she's 16, she texted me a screenshot of some of the news stories, and she said, who's Charlie Kirk? And she did not really know who he was. And there are going to be millions and millions of Gen Alpha, Gen Z kids out there who are not going to know who he was, but they will now. And so,
so they made him martyr.
That's right. I mean, and so this is, and one of the things I thought about is that, there's two sides on this. You have the kids who are not politically plugged in. They don't really know who Charlie Kirk is. But what they do see is they see all of these videos on TikTok that say all of these terrible things about him that do not give the full picture of his life. They do not take into consideration his humanity or his free speech or these very, I mean, like, you will never see on those accounts the pictures of Charlie Kirk with his family and his beautiful little children, because that would humanize him. And I think that is what, I mean, that is the goal. So much of the time is that we dehumanize people when we vilify them. And there are going to be a lot more people now. You see a lot of people talk about this, but there are going to be a lot of people who talk about how that this will radicalize, or it will create a whole new generation of Charlie Kirks, right? Because they will see this and they will be motivated and moved to do that themselves. And I guarantee that there are going to be a lot of young people who did not know who Charlie Kirk was before, but will see this and now they will know.
Something, the coexist bumper sticker that they have, something tells me that they don't actually mean that, Camellia.
No, right? I mean, it's so much performative, which I'll be honest, that's why it's really hard. There is so much that is performative in our political, just in politics in general. That whole thing on the House floor yesterday in Congress, like, I know this is jaded, but I was just like, I don't even care what you guys think, because it's all political theater, and I don't care if it's left or right. Even the right makes political theater, out of things on the House floor, and the left does it too. And as far as I'm concerned, like, we just shouldn't even, that doesn't seem to be even the place to be having this conversation about Charlie Kirk, because it is just like, it's a cesspool. Like, you want to talk about literally the swamp. Like, I don't want to hear from, the government right now on this. I know that sounds terrible. And don't get me wrong, I love Dr. Bob. I think he has lots of good things to say.
For sure.
And I think it is important. Now, I mean, I will say as a caveat, I do think that it is important that our elected officials, talk about these things, and they talk about the importance of, recognizing that prayers are valuable for these people. And there are lots of things that J.D. Vance has posted about Charlie Kirk in the last 12 hours that I think are so good and really speak to his character and really speak to his, whether or not you agreed with him, but really spoke to his heart for having that open civil dialogue. Didn't Charlie Kirk just meet with Gavin Newsom?
Yes, he did.
Right. So, I mean, like, there is, like, over and over again, despite differences with people, that was the lesson that we need to take away from this, is the ability to reach out across the aisle, have that conversation. And so that's why, knowing that that's what he was about, seeing that sort of, like, nonsense happening on the House floor is just, like, I think the people are just done with that. And the truth is that the Democrats in that chamber should be ashamed of their behavior.
Camellia, this is a dark day. September 11th, 2001, the day that will live in infamy. Do you remember where you were that morning?
I do. I woke up to it being on the news as I was getting ready to go to work. And you sat there just transfixed, because it was as it was happening. And then, it was the first building, and then you saw the second building fall. And it is strange right now. Kids, like, when you live through something like that, and, there was all of the things that happened afterwards with the search and who was responsible. And I don't know if you remember, everybody was wearing the different pins that had the different colors that meant different things to wait. People were showing their support and remembering the people who died in a lot of different ways. And so, the generation now that is in school, and they remember these things, but they don't connect with that on the same level, right? But I think that, the irony of this happening with Charlie Kirk and September 11th, just back to back, I think really drives home the importance of remembering those things, because, one of the things that went through my mind over and over again yesterday was people are outraged right now, but our attention span nationally is so short that I couldn't help but wonder, like, are we even going to be talking about this a week from now? And so that is a challenge, I think, in our current culture, is because things move through the news cycle so fast that it is important that we go back and we remember history and the things that happened.
Camellia, is there anything else that you'd like to share with our audience before we let you go today?
I don't have anything else to say that probably thousands of people have already said. I think that, it's a lesson to us all to be careful and cautious, but also I think the biggest takeaway too is that we should not allow this to damage our relationships with people with whom we do not agree. Because I think if there's anything that Charlie Kirk would have wanted, it would be for us to redouble our efforts to reach across that gap and to find common ground.
Camellia Petersen, friend of the show, every Tuesday, Thursday on this Wake Up America show. We have Camellia usually at 8, but she got up a little early for us today and is doing it from the car. Thank you, CJ. Have a wonderful day.
You're remembered. I mean, if I die, everything just goes away. How would you, if you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith in my life.
Charlie Kirk, thank you so much.
You guys do a great job. I wish you could.
How do you want to be remembered?
I mean, if I die,
everything just goes away. How would you, if you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith.
There you go. And that's how we will remember you, Charlie. So let me tell you what I've experienced personally in the last few days. Show you what it's like to be the type of person who says, you know what, I am so committed to the principles of freedom of speech, the Second Amendment, the Constitution, the things that made America great, that you dedicate your life to it, as I have, to show you a little bit or let you hear a little bit of this is the kind of thing that I put up with on a daily basis.
These people are fucking killing people. They're starting fucking death camps and they are fucking putting them in there. I hope they fucking put you in there.
So these are the kinds of things that messages that I've been getting, phone calls to my private phone. The messages that I've been receiving have been stepping up in rhetoric, the push for violence, the calls for violence against me from the left ever since I appeared on one of their Facebook pages. And I've received death threats. I've had, these psychotic leftists calling my phone. Yesterday, I reached out to the local sheriff and I warned him about the possibility of swatting. We had a conversation with a local deputy here. And one of the things I do want to, share with anyone out there, if you happen to be someone with a bit of a public profile, or if you are in this business of podcasting, you live your life in public, right? It is a little bit more dangerous for you. But if you're lucky enough to live in a red state or a red county, like I do, I sat down yesterday and had a phone call with our local sheriff's office to explain, this is not me trying to overinflate my importance. There are probably people who are higher up on a targeted list. However, the last few days I have been getting threats. I just want you guys to know that if you get a strange phone call about something going down, right, don't come and kick my door down, right? Here's my phone number. Give me a call. And now they know a little bit more about me and what I do here and sort of the situation as it is right now. And I'm not alone. You're not alone, right? This is the climate that we live in. We're surrounded by these people, right? Where free speech isn't just unpopular. It's dangerous what we're doing here right now, gathering together and having conversations, talking about dangerous things and dangerous ideas to the left. Dangerous ideas. And when people tell you there's no war on conservatives, I just want you to remember Charlie's name, right? Charlie was assassinated for words, right? That is a political act. That is an act of terrorism. Let's talk about what happened in the House of Representatives after Charlie's death was announced. Republicans held a moment of silence. Then Rep. Lauren Boebert stood and asked to pray. The Democrats shouted her down on the day that a man was murdered for his beliefs. What about the kids in Colorado? They screamed, referring to a separate school shooting. Boebert said that she was going to mention them. They didn't care. Then Anna Paulina Luna stood up, shouted across the aisle, "You caused this." And what did the Democrats scream back? Of course, pass some gun laws, because it's not about Charlie's life. It's not about Charlie's life. It's not. It's not about him at all. It's about power and about narrative and performance and pretending they're victims when it's one of ours lying in a hospital bed.
The chair would ask that all members present in the chamber and those in the gallery please rise for a moment of prayer for Charlie Kirk and his family. What purpose does the gentlelady from Colorado rise? Shh. Let's wait a minute. The House will be in order. The House will be in order. Shh. The House will be in order. Shh. The House will be in order. We will join prayer right after this, okay? The chair lays before the House a communication.
Congressman Dr. Bob Onder, my congressman, will be joining us live here in just a few minutes. I hope that you will stick around with us through the brief little break that I need in order to go and get Dr. Bob on the show. We are waiting for him to join us over behind the scenes. When he does look like he's joining us, I will go away for a brief moment and then bring him back. This is how MSNBC was reporting on the story yesterday.
But following up on what was just said, he's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech or sort of aimed at certain groups. And I always go back to hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. But
there it is. There it is. That's MSNBC right there for you. If you don't shut up, if you don't stop talking like that, then if you don't stop saying the things that we say on this show every day and more, then that is how you will be treated by the left. You should expect to be assassinated if you talk like this.
Live by the sword, die by the sword. He did say that gun deaths were an acceptable side effect of gun rights.
There you go. There's the demon right there for you. And there's a million of these. You know, I could go through this all the time. The governor of Utah came out in a statement, a very clear statement on this yesterday.
This is a dark day for our state. It's a tragic day for our nation. And I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination. We are celebrating 250 years of the founding of this great nation. That founding document, the Declaration of Independence, that this great experiment on which we embarked together 250 years ago, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. The first one of those is life. And today, a life was taken.
Let me tell you something that you aren't. Let me tell you something you're not going to hear on NPR today. You're not going to hear about the union protesters who cornered Republicans in the Missouri State Capitol yesterday in the staff bathrooms who were threatening them, intimidating them, trying to silence them. You're not going to hear about conservatives being mobbed, canceled, surveilled, demonetized, simply for thinking differently. You sure as hell aren't going to hear about Kurt Schlichter's words quoted, because Kurt dared to say what half the country is feeling right now. This is from his piece. They don't get to murder their way to victory. We're going to triple down. We want justice, swift, fair, and harsh. You know why they won't quote that? Because it makes sense. And they're terrified of sense. That's why they assassinated Charlie Kirk, because he makes sense. We're going to have Kurt Schlichter on his piece that he wrote this morning at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. The Wake Up America show will continuing on with our mission to spread the ideas that make leftists shrink in terror and causes them to come back at us and to attack us. This hateful message that I received from this transgender person yesterday on Facebook. Excuse me for just a moment.
But I want to make it crystal clear right now.
This message that I received yesterday.
These people are fucking killing people. They are starting fucking death camps and they are fucking putting them in there. I hope they fucking put you in there.
So why did I get a message like this? Why? Because Occupy Democrats shared a meme that was made by libertarians, ironically, that said Austin fucked around and he found out. Austin voted for Donald Trump, and Donald Trump has tanked his shoe business because of tariffs. And they said Austin got what he deserved. They posted this everywhere. All of a sudden, my inbox is absolutely jam-packed, just filled with things like this. Just attacks from every angle. I mean, but the thing is that I get attacks from the right quite frequently for being anti-tariffs or criticizing Trump over the Epstein files or something. But I never get any death threats from Republicans. As Eric Trump said yesterday, the bullets are all flying one way. The bullets are all coming in one direction. Right? Today is September the 11th, a day that we all remember what happened to our country. Charlie's death is not 9/11, okay? It's not 9/11. Dr. Bob is waiting here to join us. I'll be right back, guys. Don't go away. We're now joined by somebody who's not only my congressman, but a man of principle, clarity, and conviction, Dr. Bob Onder. He's been a consistent voice for faith, freedom, and reason in the public square. In a moment like this, we need men like him more than ever. He called it plainly yesterday, saying Charlie Kirk is a martyr. Good morning, Congressman. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Good morning, Austin. It's great to be back. I wish under better circumstances.
Me as well, Dr. Bob. I did get to meet Charlie Kirk. He called me friend. He gave me many opportunities. He was someone that I looked up to in many ways, even though he was younger than me. You said yesterday that Charlie Kirk is a martyr. What did you mean by that, and why is it important to say something like that now without hedging?
Well, yeah, Austin, I think Charlie Kirk is a martyr in the same way that Socrates was a martyr, that John the Baptist was a martyr, that he stood up for truth, and I think he's a Christian martyr in the sense that our Lord Jesus Christ said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." Pontius Pilate, when he said, "What is truth?" he was looking truth in the eye. And Charlie stood up for many, many truths: the truths about our constitutional government, about liberty, about marriage, about family, about the fact that God created men, male and female, and that can't be changed by some hideous scientific experiments. Charlie stood up for the truth, and he fought for what he believed in, and and at the end, I really believe that he knew the danger. Prophetically, back in April, Charlie put on social media a recent study that said 45% of American progressives believed it would be, quote, at least somewhat okay to kill Elon Musk, and 55% said the same thing about Donald Trump. At the end of the day, the left felt the same about Charlie, and he was, ironically, answering a question about the transgender cult that's taken over so much of our society and harmed so many young people.
I've been getting some death threats myself in the last few days, Dr. Bobs, many of them from transgender activists sending me all kinds of hateful messages. It stepped up a few days ago when I made a Democrat Facebook page, and last night I contacted the Cole County Sheriff and let them know, who I am and why I could be targeted. My phone has been blowing up from all these calls, Dr. Bob. I'm sure you probably get this kind of a thing too. I hope that you're taking precautions for your own safety.
So I've had that experience almost a decade ago. Whatever one thinks about the Obergefell decision by the Supreme Court, it got basically mandating same-sex marriage for all 50 states. Many of us felt that those churches, pastors, wedding vendors should be able to exercise their own conscience rights. And in 2017, I carried the Religious Liberty Amendment. In 2017, Austin, we lost count of the death threats. And even apart from death threats, there were nice messages about what they hoped would happen to my wife and to my daughters, even though not threatening those things. The LGBT left has been just an incredibly aggressively violent group of people. Not to say that, not to say that people who are gay or transgender are all violent, but as an ideology, as a political movement, there is this belief that the end justifies the means, and intimidation and even political violence is perfectly okay. And it is a sad state of affairs, but at least it lets us know we will never be the same. We know what we're up against. Ironically, Austin, 24 years ago, almost to the minute, the jetliner hit the South Tower of the World Trade Center. A different and equally poisonous ideology wanted to kill us, wanted to destroy what we stand for and our way of life. And we stood up to the evil back then, and we will stand up to evil now. But I think this is waking a lot of people up. And it's not a problem of general polarization in our political discourse. No, it is truly the far left believing that the end justifies the means. They would put you and me in re-education camps, Austin. Make no mistake about it. And some of them would kill us if they have a chance.
Dr. Bob, you served in public office for years. You've seen political friction up close. What we witnessed on the House floor yesterday, the shouting, the accusations, a refusal to allow a simple prayer, it felt like something new. What happened yesterday?
It was surreal, Austin. I couldn't believe it. So Speaker Johnson did take the gavel and called for a moment of silence, and that was very brief. And then Representative Lauren Boebert of Colorado asked for a part of parliamentary inquiry, and she asked for, she did things the right way, and she asked for a moment of prayer. Speaker Johnson could have led that prayer. Lauren could have, the chaplain could have, but the Democrats started screaming angrily. They objected to the idea of prayer. It almost reminded me of scenes of movies that portray exorcisms where the demon hears the priest start to pray and start screaming maniacally. It was like nothing I've ever experienced in Congress.
Dr. Bob, a lot of people have lost faith in the institution of Congress. They don't believe that Congress is capable of functioning as a proper parliamentary body. Do you think that there's anything that Congress can do in regards to something like this? Is this a time for hearing, resolutions? Should there actually be legislative action? Or what kind of response should there be?
I think, despite that outburst, we went through and, worked our way through the amendments to the National Defense Authorization Agency. I think I cast a lot of votes that Austin Petersen would have approved of yesterday afternoon. We'll talk about that some other time. We continued to function. But I believe the American people need to open their eyes. Look, over my decades on this earth, I've met many well-meaning Democrats, many well-meaning, even pretty far left progressives. But there's a whole different undercurrent in the American left today, which really wants to stifle discourse, that wants to censor free speech, that wants to put their political enemies in prison. Witness the 4 felony cases against Donald Trump, and unfortunately wants to kill their political enemies. But this shouldn't surprise us. This has been a fixture of the left from the beginning. Look at the actions of Nikolai Lenin or Joseph Stalin or Nikita Khrushchev or Mao Zedong or Fidel Castro or Che Guevara. All the heroes, by the way, of the left, they were all vicious, ruthless murderers. They killed not one Charlie Kirk, but millions and even tens of millions of people in order to get their way politically. That's what we face, Austin, when we face up against the left. And you're a voice for freedom, a voice for constitutional government. I hope I, in my small way, in my 1 seat out of 435 in Congress, am as well.
You certainly are, Dr. Bob, and we admire you and look up to you here. I know that you're a very busy man. A lot of the people who listen to the Wake Up America show are also your constituents. They live here in mid-Missouri and elsewhere. But you're a man of faith and family. What would you say to the people in your constituency who maybe they are politically active and they're afraid today? What would you say to them?
Well, I would say, on the one hand, I would say they have good reason to fear. But I would also say, as our Lord said many times in the gospel, be not afraid. Be not afraid. Because despite the powers of darkness that we face today, we know who's really in charge. But the prince of this world, as our Lord called him, had his day yesterday. Now we need to raise up hundreds and thousands of Charlie Kirks to take his place. We need to keep safe. We need to hold our children tightly. Most of all, we need to pray, even for our enemies. But we need to make it very clear that the battle lines are drawn, and we cannot let. We need to be faithful to our call to protect God and family and country, and we cannot let this intimidate us one bit.
Congressman and Dr. Bob Onder, bless you. Thank you very much. We'll be thinking about you today. Thank you for your comforting words, and take care. We hope to see you very soon.
Thank you, Austin. God bless.
It makes sense if you don't feel a deep well of empathy for someone who made a career out of refusing to show it for others. I want to normalize that. Because sometimes when a public figure dies, especially in a tragic way, people rush to say, you have to be compassionate right now. Don't speak ill of the dead. But if that person spent their life dismissing other people's pain, mocking it, minimizing it, even actively contributing to it, it makes sense that your empathy tank might run dry. That doesn't mean you're celebrating. It doesn't mean you're cold-hearted. It just means your compassion has limits. And those limits are often shaped by how much compassion someone showed in their lifetime. There's actually something psychologically healthy about noticing that boundary. You're not obligated to manufacture sorrow for someone who never extended any to you, your community, or people you care about. You can hold both, I don't wish this on anyone, and I don't feel sad about it either. That's not cruelty, that's honesty. And it feels really weird and uncomfortable to hold both of those in your body at the same time. This isn't about telling you not to be compassionate. It's about giving you permission to notice whatever you honestly feel or don't feel and trust that it's valid.
That's a therapist right there. Therapy Jeff, he goes by on TikTok. Can you see the evil in people's eyes? Because I certainly can. Is there something about their faces that for whatever reason, I think that the years of hate have destroyed these people's features? Do you believe, this is just a theory that I have, do you believe that the hatred on the inside, that the evil that's on the inside eventually works its way out? Not to say that there can't be evil people who are beautiful people. Well, there certainly are and have been over history. But isn't it the case so often that people like this, you can see it in their physiognomy? Am I the only person who thinks something like that? I hope that you all enjoyed Dr. Bob Onder this morning. We've had two fantastic guests here on the Wake Up America show. And many of you might be watching us today for the first time. If you are, we'd love to have you be a regular guest. So do us a favor, click the like button and the follow button. We'd love to have you be a regular guest Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time on the Wake Up America show. Steffi for Liberty, my lovely wife, says therapists make up jargon to go along with their practice. Exactly. I'd love to have you explain that a little bit more tomorrow, Stephanie, on Freedom Family Friday, because I'm sure we'll still be talking about this. We're going to have Kurt Schlichter on the Wake Up America show in less than 10 minutes here on the Wake Up America show. I didn't get to say thank you to Derek Mollier earlier for the Rumble rant. He gave a very generous $20 donation. And also Frickety gave a very generous $100 donation. Quest Fanning also tipped a couple bucks too. We're very grateful. Thank you guys. We're not doing bonus content today, just out of respect for Charlie Kirk. If you do want to give to the Wake Up America show financially, we'll thank you very much, and it will be used for more free speech, just like what you're listening right now, for more content like what you're watching right now. But there won't be any sort of like bonus contents or breakfast theater. We will return to that practice, if not tomorrow, then early next week, while we mourn the passing of a great hero of liberty. I'll tell you why I feel comfortable praising Charlie Kirk, despite not knowing him, intimately or on a friendship basis. Charlie Kirk was always kind to me. He gave me career opportunities. He invited me to speak at Turning Point events. He greenlit, me being able to be brought to different places around the country whenever student organizations around the country wanted to bring Austin to Turning Point USA campuses. Sometimes decisions like that went all the way up, I heard, and Charlie Kirk always greenlit it and said, yeah, you can bring Austin to your campus and, we'll pay for it and fund it and make it happen. So he was always good to me, and he was always reaching out a hand to someone who he probably knew that he disagreed with quite a bit. I think he saw me for like a year or two as a never Trumper there for a while. Someone he was talking about. He invited people who don't support Donald Trump to their Turning Point USA conferences. This was way like 15 years ago. The way that Charlie Kirk treated people was like a friend, but he wasn't fake. And I've been in politics for so long, I can tell when somebody's a faker. I can tell when somebody's being disingenuous when they shake your hand. The way that politicians smile and look at you, and you can just see behind their eyes the deadness in their eyes. It wasn't like that with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk would genuinely listen to you when you would say something to him. Most people in politics, when you go to Washington, D.C., if you ever go to a party in Washington, D.C. with Politico types, this is how everybody is. If you're having a conversation with him, let's say, okay, I'm looking straight at the camera now. All right. If we're having a conversation, normally you would have a conversation like this, and you would talk to someone like this, and you say, yes, okay, yeah. But that's not how most people have conversations in Washington, D.C. So if I'm looking at you, the camera, this is how people in Washington, D.C. talk. They're like, oh yeah, right there, yeah, and this is how they look, like this, oh yeah, oh that's amazing, oh yeah. They're not really listening, because they're always looking for the next person to talk to. They're always looking to move on to the next hand to shake, right? The next donor to squeeze, the next wallet to empty, right? The next job opportunity, the next opportunity to increase their power. And if you aren't the biggest, most powerful person in the world, then you're not of interest to these people. Charlie wasn't like that. I had nothing to offer Charlie in 2017 or 18 when he brought me to the Turning Point USA National Conference to speak and debate. Nothing to offer him. Nothing that I could do for him. I wasn't, paying money for Turning Point USA. They were paying me to come. And still, Charlie found his time to come and find me, one of a random, 100 other speakers, right? Find me, introduce himself to me, chat with me, talk to me about, the presidential run, which had just occurred at the time. I had a nice conversation. When I, brought things up to him that may have been trivialities or frivolities, he sat there and he listened, he smiled, he nodded, he kept eye contact. He was not a regular political type in the process. He was not like the type of person that you normally meet in politics. And Daniela worked for Turning Point USA, so she might have known him. But I don't know. A hell of a week for Daniela to pick to be out. I've given it shit. Says, by the way, I do love the neon pineapple. Thank you. That is not some. Did Stephanie put you up to that? Did she put you up to tell you that to somebody to say something about it? If she did, Stephanie. That's okay. Still makes me feel good. Yeah, I got that for you. I did that for you guys. That's not a graphic. Look, you can see right there. If it was a graphic, then I could still cover it up if it was on a lower layer, however. but no, it's not a graphic. See that? I got to figure out a way to hide that wire. Yeah, Daniela did work for Turning Point USA, and she may have known him. I'm not quite sure, but hopefully we'll hear from her about this when she comes back on Culturama next week. Malay sticker. Somebody else noticed the Javier Malay sticker. Watch grabbing that chainsaw, Austin. Yep, there you go. Exactly. That's Javier Malay. You can get that sticker, that Javier Malay sticker at the Griff Shop if you guys are interested. I'm going to go to a brief commercial break. Kurt Schlichter is going to be joining us live in 5 minutes. Don't go away. We'll be right back. It's the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than that's the fact.
Joining us now is retired Army Colonel, trial lawyer, and town hall columnist Kurt Schlichter, and he's here not to coddle us. He's here to call the enemy what they are. In his column, Kurt wrote, "They murdered Charlie Kirk, not just a man, but a symbol of God-given liberty. This was an attack on America, and it will be righteously avenged." Kurt, welcome back. Let's get into it.
Hey, thanks for having me on a pretty awful day. I woke up to do another hit, 4 or 5 in the morning. And, for a minute, I was hoping that it was just a bad dream. And it's not. It's a terrible, terrible loss
for Charlie's family, for the country. This is so bad in so many ways, I can't even fully express it.
I mean, you wrote that this was an attack on God, country, and liberty. Why do you frame it that way, and what would you say to the squishes trying to water it down?
Well, you know, contrary to what Democrat senators seem to think, our rights are endowed in us by our Creator. So when you presume to deny something,
recording in progress.
So that you, when you presume to deny something that God granted every individual, that's a sin. That's an abomination. Likewise, it's an attack on our country, because our country. I mean, gosh, it's such a cliche, but it's it's based on the principle of free speech, the principle of free expression, the principle of political participation. And when you blow someone's body apart with a high-powered rifle, apparently they have recovered the weapon. That is attack on everything we believe in. This is an outrage, an abomination. This is so bad. And if you're some sort of squisher, well, it's no big deal. I haven't seen anybody saying it's no big deal. I've seen people celebrating it. I've seen people try to explain it because, he was wearing a short skirt by saying all those things we don't like. So he's kind of asking for it. But I think they realize it's a big deal too. I think they're going to realize it because I think this, combined with a number of other things, including the assassination attempt on the president, the murder of that poor woman in North Carolina, frankly, I think the Overton window has been flung open. And I think leftists are on the verge of being thrown out it.
You compared Charlie to Andrew Breitbart, another voice that was cut down in his prime, but he left behind a generation of warriors. How do we make sure that Charlie's death multiplies this movement instead of silencing it?
Oh, we don't have to do anything. They're going to do it themselves. That was the thing about Andrew. And I was one of the original guys. I was an original big Hollywood guy before the Breitbart sites really started. And if you look at the people I was with, we're all over the place. You got Larry O'Connor, Derek Hunter, a little guy named Ben Shapiro, Dana Lash, Michael Walsh. It just goes on, and each of us have touched and inspired other people, and they've moved on. And this wasn't astroturfed. Okay, this is organic. And what Charlie did was go out and mobilize young people with his podcasts, his campus visits, his conventions, and they're going to start doing things. Charlie Kirk is irreplaceable, but there's 1,000 young people who are going to go out and replace him anyway. And they're not going to be Charlie Kirk. They're going to be something new and different, and they're going to be greater. It's going to be greater than what Charlie was. But don't underestimate Charlie's effect. If you look at the 80s, you had Ronald Reagan. If you look at the 90s, Rush Limbaugh. The 2000s, Andrew Breitbart. The 2010s, Donald Trump. Charlie Kirk is arguably the conservative leader of the 2020s. The guy who really changed everything, a visionary, not just another talking head, but someone who came in and left the movement completely different when he departed. That's his legacy.
Colonel, your extensive experience in the military might inform your understanding of an incident like this. I've seen opinions all over the place about how easy it would be to do something like this or how hard it would be to do something like this. Some people are saying, oh, they must have been trained. It must have been a professional hit. I wonder what your thoughts are on that.
I think it's some scumbag, perhaps a transsexual activist or some sort of left-wing activist. I don't know. Again, I don't know the facts. I just have my suspicions. But apparently he had a hunting rifle, bolt action. 200 yards is not a difficult technical shot. And, first of all, the idea that there's like this coterie of Hollywood hitmen is sort of a celluloid dream that really doesn't exist. This is some scumbag who decided he, she, they, whatever, got mad because Charlie Kirk was saying things that were not supposed to be said, and they murdered him for it. And that's unacceptable. We're going to find this person, and we're going to punish this person. And this person ought to be dragged in front of a Utah firing squad and shot after a fair trial.
You talked about righteous retribution, not vengeance, but justice with teeth. So a firing squad is what that looks like in your mind.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. That's how they execute people in Utah. Seems good to me. There's been this kind of wave among conservatives. Well, we don't want to get involved with vengeance and paying back people. Wait a minute. Society's built on retribution, righteous retribution, not framing people, not mere retaliation. If I'm on the street and you call me a name and I punch you, that's retaliation. That's just me getting my emotions out. Retribution reinforces the paradigm that is society. You do something wrong, there are consequences. And when I say righteous retribution, again, I don't mean framing someone. I don't mean not providing real due process. I know as well as anyone, as a lawyer for 30 years, that the justice system is not perfect and it demands a strong defense for anyone accused. And that must be afforded whoever did this. But upon conviction, I think there's only one appropriate penalty, because our society has to say, no, it is unacceptable that you murder people for saying things, that you kill them because you don't like their politics. And the only way to say that is to execute them.
Speaking to Kurt Schlichter this morning, he's joining us talking about his column and the unfortunate death and assassination of Charlie Kirk. Don't forget to click the like button. And if today's your first time watching this show and you're enjoying us, don't forget to click the follow button as well. You said it pretty clearly in your column, Kurt. It's time to go on offense, not violently, but politically, culturally, legally. Where does that offensive begin? Which institutions do we confront first? Where's the soft underbelly of this movement that we can? Where's the low-hanging fruit that we can pierce?
We've already started, and that was by cutting off the government teat, so to speak, that had been funding much of this leftist stuff. Yeah, billionaires write checks, but the real money is the government grants that get laundered, and we've started to cut that. There is a whole system out there, a quasi-legal system of leftist NGOs, leftist groups, leftist organizations that, to some extent, appears to be doing things unlawfully. We're not saying stamp them out so they can't do their advocacy, but when you're doing things like, taking foreign credit cards that violates the law, wink, wink, we'll just, take an extra couple $1 million here and there in Act Blue or whatever. That's a problem. And to the extent this stuff is organized, for instance, the same Antifa scumbags show up at riots in Portland, New York, and Atlanta. Someone's organizing that. Someone's doing logistics. Someone's paying for it. It is a crime to cross state lines in order to cause a riot. We need to look at that, and we need to stamp it out.
You say that we're not going to frame anybody, but we're not going to sit back either. How do we how do we balance our righteous anger and make sure we don't become what we fight? How do we avoid looking into the abyss and seeing the abyss staring back at us? How do we avoid losing our souls in this battle, Kurt?
Well, the first thing is rigorous honesty with ourselves. We make sure we're not lying about people. We're not framing people. We're not taking statutes and bending and contorting them like some Punjabi yogi which they did in the J6 stuff, where they took statutes that had nothing to do with the conduct that was charged. You know, laws are unjust unless they are both clear and clearly applied, so that everybody knows exactly what we have decided as a nation is forbidden and what is not. We don't do that. We rigorously monitor ourselves to make sure we're only doing the right thing. Look, I'm angry. I'm as angry as I've ever been. And if it would make things better, but for me throwing a punch, I would throw it with gusto. But it's not going to make things better. It's not going to help. It's not going to get to the end state that we want. Look, we've got the solution. It's right there. It's our Constitution and the laws that come from it. That's our solution to this problem. Not to invent something else, not to do anything else, but to exercise the powers under the Constitution while respecting the rights it recognizes.
Kurt, I got a message overnight. I've been getting slammed with death threats over the past few days. It really stepped up after Charlie was assassinated yesterday. After I appeared on Occupy Democrats Facebook page, and I get lots of death threats. It happens a lot. It's something that I've kind of just learned how to clear out the inbox. But yesterday I got this message from a them. Look on Facebook, a man wearing a woman's dress, and this is the message that they had for me. Take a listen to this.
These people are fucking killing people. They are starting fucking death camps and they are fucking putting them in there. I hope they fucking put you in there.
What do we do?
Well, first of all, I'm no longer having interest in tolerating weirdos, losers, and mutations. And this person's either mentally ill or a pervert. Those are your only two options if you hearken to the delusion that is transgenderism. The one thing I have noticed in the last 24 hours is a complete lack of intimidation. If they were trying to scare us, it didn't work. The only thing I have seen is people asking, Kurt, do you think I need to update my everyday carry? And in fact, I have. I'm going to carry a different pistol today than I usually do, one with a little more capacity. I'm 60 years old. I served 27 years. I'm too old to get down on my knees. They hurt. So I'm gonna die on my feet if I have to. But I won't live on my knees. I'm not going to give in. I'm not going to back down. And nobody is. And I'm looking, look, I'm as hard on the guys in the National Review as anybody else. But those guys have been born again hard. They're like, let's go. You're not telling me what to do. I'm not being silenced. I'm not cowering. I mean, these are the bow-tied incel George Will loving virgins, and they're looking for a brawl.
Even my libertarian friends are out there. The non-aggression principle people are sounding very aggressive.
Well, look, if you aggress, we're going to have a problem. And if what it takes is personal self-defense, conducted lawfully, okay. I don't intend to start anything. I intend to finish it.
Last one for you. What's the one thing that you want our audience to do today? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. What should people be doing?
Stand up and say whatever the hell you want. Don't be intimidated. Don't back down. Get ready for when things get ugly. You need to buy guns and ammunition. You need to be trained. You need to know how to do things like stop the bleeding and CPR. Doesn't always save you. I don't think Charlie Kirk could have been saved. But if things get ugly, you need to be ready. But stand up. Do not be cowed. Do not be intimidated. Do not let these semi-human savages frighten you. You're an American. Here's your chain of command. God, you, government flunkies, and everybody else.
There we go. That's Kurt Schlichter. Kurt, anything else that you want to share before we let you go today?
Say a prayer for the family of Charlie Kirk. It's It's heartbreaking. I didn't know him well. I knew him a little. He was a solid guy. All the good things you hear about him, all true.
Thank you, Kurt. And thanks for joining us and being so generous with your time today. You have a good one.
Thanks for having me.
This is just wrong. And my heart goes out to his family, to his friends. But we just cannot be a country that turns to violence when we disagree. We just can't.
What can Congress do about it, Senator?
Well, one thing Congress can do is gun safety. And every time there's a killing, the Republicans say this is not the time to talk about gun safety. And yet we have to. As a nation, we have more gun deaths than most other nations, and we don't keep our children, our friends, our neighbors safe by just putting ordinary gun safety rules in place.
As we close today's program, I want to take a moment to breathe with you. And if you know anything about me, you know I'm a big karate guy. Last night we had our class, and I was talking to the kids a little bit about self-defense. And some of the kids, they've started to have to use in their schools. They've had to use some of the defensive techniques that I teach them. Of course, I always teach them that karate is for defense only. But the number one tool that I ask them to use in order to defend themselves is their minds, to use their brains, right? To remember that Mr. Miyagi said, best defense, no be there. But the most important thing that we do in karate is not the punches, not the kicks, not the wild spins or tornado kicks. It's not the push-ups. It's not the sit-ups. It's not the conditioning. The most important thing that we do in karate class is we learn how to breathe. So I'm going to ask you today to breathe with me, to take it in through your nose, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And just keep breathing as I finish this program today. As we close today's program, let's breathe. We've covered a lot. We've heard heartbreak. We've felt anger. We've confronted the ugly reality in America in 2025. Free speech can get you killed. And on the anniversary of 9/11, no less, a day when we're already reminded how fragile our freedom is. But here's the truth. Every generation has moments when the ground shifts under their feet, when the world reminds them that their freedom isn't truly free, that words have weight, and that courage comes with a cost. Charlie Kirk paid that cost. And whatever else you thought about him, whether you agreed with every take of his or not, you cannot deny that he stood up when so many others backed down. He spoke when others stayed silent, and he built something lasting out of conviction and grit. He loved his wife, he loved his kids, and he loved his country enough to risk being hated for it. That's the example that he leaves us. He wasn't perfect. He wasn't a saint, right? But he was courageous. And that is the kind of courage that we need now more than ever. It's easy to be cynical right now. I know many of you may be feeling that. It's easy to say that America is too far gone. It's very tempting to believe that the left has too much power, that the system is too rigged. But I'll tell you this, if we quit, the shooter won. If we check out, then the censors won. If we go quiet, then every person who hates what this country stands for just got exactly what they wanted. So here's the choice. Either we fold or we fight smarter. Breathe. Either we retreat or we rise. And believe me, I know people listening right now, many of you, you're not retreating, right? We're not going to let Charlie's death silence us. The show will go on. We're going to be honoring Charlie Kirk by speaking louder, organizing the For Liberty Network harder, and we're going to make sure that our kids, my child, and your children inherit a country where they don't have to be afraid to say what they believe. Today is not the end of anything. It is the beginning of a new chapter. Let's write it together. It's a hard chapter, but one we can meet with clear eyes and strong hearts. So tonight, say a prayer for Charlie's wife and for his kids. Say a prayer for our country. I'm not a praying person, but I sent one up for Charlie yesterday. Tomorrow morning, we're going to get up again, and we're going to keep building. Charlie didn't spend his life telling young people to shut up and sit down. He said, tell them to stand up for what's right? Stand up and fight. And that's our job now. It's up to us to carry the baton, to keep the flame alive, to take the torch, and to prove once again that no bullet, no army can stop an idea whose time has come, America. Bless you. God bless Charlie Kirk's family, and God bless the United States of America. This is Austin Petersen. You've been listening to the Wake Up America show. Stay strong. We'll be back tomorrow.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today.